thousands of ducats, infinite army tradition and navy tradition, a scripted god tier ruler, and an HRE revoke within days. And the best part of that is you can do all of that with any nation in the game. You don't need to form anything. You don't need to have any special government. You don't need to have any special ideas. You can do all of this as any nation in the game by simply inheriting rebels. And before the video starts, I wanted to say that this is nothing new. This tactic is not like a brand new innovation or something. The speedrun community uses this tactic for years by now. The reason why I'm showing it on this channel now is because I may or may not use this strategy in one of my upcoming runs that I plan. And therefore I wanted to show you how this trick actually works, because I think especially for speedruns, if you need a lot of money, resources, revoke fast without any reform progress farms, then this strategy really saves you a lot of time, and that is why I'm showing that today. Maybe you guys can try a speedrun yourself with this strategy. I mean, it gives you quite the edge in the early game that you need to get a really crazy run going, but you're going to see that in the next few weeks. For now, let's go with inheriting rebels. So this is now where the tactic starts, and this is all the setup you need. Obviously, I'm playing a normal Aragon game, just conquering Egypt a little bit, Nosebib, Byzantium, and so on. I am actually the Emperor of the HRE, as you can see. Really, the only part of this setup that you have to actually set up is that you need to have a small Ottomans that you can full annex in one war. Now, in my opinion, the easiest way to control that is to have them as your subject, in this case as my March, because I can declare war on them whenever I want. I can even stand on their own provinces and declare a war. And now, of course, it will cost me a little bit of stability, but you can see my stability cost is quite stacked down. So not a problem. And on top of that, that also means that you can basically lead the armies away from their homelands, such as declaring a war over here like that. The Ottomans want to go over and try to help. I set objectives over there for them, so they will try to go over there. And you can see I have even an army in the same province as them that can immediately get rid of their army, okay? And they're basically completely trapped in my land over here once I sign the peace deal. Because, of course, I won't have mill access anymore through the Mamluks. So that is the setup that you need, that you will need to have a small Ottomans that you can easily annex within 1 or 2 months, and their army is not allowed to interfere with that. So you need to immediately wipe their army on day 1 of the war, basically. There is one more thing. The Ottomans need to have 6,000 troops for that. And that is also the reason why I made them a march. Actually, 6,000 troops as a subject is pretty easy. You can see they have like 100% autonomy here. So it's basically just their capital with only 20 development that they need with the march bonus, of course, to get a force limit of 6,000 troops. So very simple. And then you just need to subsidize them to build up the army, right? So that's all it needs. And the reward that you get, you're going to see that in a second, is crazy strong. Okay, so enough about the setup. Now what I want to do is actually sign a white peace. I just declared this war to lead the armies away from their homelands and to make them build up to their force limit. So there goes the white peace with Tunis. I really don't care about that right now. Now what I also want to do, just because I'm the emperor, I want to ally some electors. There we go, as well as take the diplomatic reputation bonus from here, so that I'm now comfortably voted, even though I'm not part of the HRE, as you can see, because my capital cannot be connected. Anyways, now what I want to do is I want to follow the Ottoman army so that I'm in the same province as them, as you can see. And I want to move my main army, my siege army, as you can see, to their capital immediately. The basic idea of this strategy is to inherit Ottoman Janissary armies, okay? Now, the interesting thing is that you can really save scum that very easily, or you could, of course, just wait. But in my opinion, save scumming is really easy for that, because they have, obviously, the Janissaries estate once they get the Ottoman government, right? And the Janissaries estate are really hard to keep them loyal, okay? So the Ottomans, actually, I checked that in a non-Ironman game, they basically never give out any estate privileges to the Janissaries themselves. So that means that their loyalty equilibrium of the Janissaries is basically always below 50. And therefore, whenever they seize land, they will, of course, trigger rebels from the estates that are disloyal, which will always, as I just said, include the Janissaries, because they don't give any privileges to them, right? So, of course, in this case, I've checked that they have like one or two other estates that are disloyal. And that's the reason why I said you need to save scum that, sadly, if you want to do it on the point where you want to really go for that. Otherwise, you can just have your army stand where the Ottoman army stands and then just wait until they eventually do that, right? And then until they eventually spawn Janissaries. It might take you a few years if you don't save scum it, but it is possible they will spawn Janissary rebels eventually, okay? And then you're going to see what you need to do once they spawn Janissary rebels. Now, in this case, it is an interesting mechanic that they won't seize any land unless their land is connected, okay? So basically, the idea is that they won't seize land because the rebels will spawn in a province that they can reach, potentially, right? If their army were in their capital, for example. Therefore, I seized this province from them that I'm going to give back to them in a second, so I can 100% control the moment in which they seize land. And that will be exactly the case once my army is in their capital province. So let me just let the game run until the 20th of January. Yeah, 21st, whatever. You can see the Ottomans are in the same province as I am. Actually, I think they will come back eventually anyways, but whatever. So now is the moment to actually give them their land back. And yeah, let me just do that real quick. Give them the province of Sultan Nönü. And that means that now their land is connected, and therefore they will seize land now within the next few days. And therefore I will save that game, because they will do it 100% of the time, because they have 6,000 troops. If they have below 6,000 troops, then they feel too weak to fight the rebels, and therefore they won't click the button, basically. So that's the only important thing that you need to have an eye on, okay? And now let's see what kind of rebels they actually spawn this time. And there we go. Literally, it is really ridiculous, but this is literally the first time that I did that on camera right now. So some streamer luck there, I guess. But yeah, they just seized land, and you can see they triggered Ottoman Janissaries in the province of Bolu that is now connected, of course, to their capital. And therefore, they feel strong enough to actually fight the rebels. But of course, what the AI really doesn't know about is that they can't get their troops over there. And therefore, what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to spend the 3 stability hits over here that, yeah, you can't go below -3. So, you know, the extra 2 doesn't matter, and the AE also doesn't matter. They also hate me anyways. But yeah, let's just declare a no-CB war on my vassal, okay? And what that means is that, of course, I will, let's just save the game just to be sure. What that means is that I will be at war with the Ottomans and therefore immediately fight their army over here, as you can see. Also, I'm not even sure. Yeah, I immediately canceled their subsidies as well, so they can't really maintain their army anyways. And I can immediately bomb this 4 up and rush it down so that I can get the 4 and the other province next by before the rebels move towards the next province, okay? So let me just do that real quick and then we'll see how that actually goes. There goes the battle. They cannot run away anywhere, so I'm just going to stack wipe them in a few days. And there goes the 4 that I can now move to the next province. You can see the Janissaries have not sieged that province down yet, which is very good. I have time to probably siege that one as well. And what I want to do is I just want to get a full annexation, and they will accept that once all of their provinces are occupied, of course. So let's just wait until that happens. First of all, their army is gone. And they would already accept the full annexation, which is all I need, really, all I need. So let's just wait until the 24th of April. They also occupied that province, but it doesn't really matter. I can now full annex the Ottoman Empire again. And yeah, what that means is I even got 90 ducats for that. What that means is that now the Ottoman Empire doesn't exist anymore, right? But the Janissaries, they still exist. Now, first of all, I don't need the provinces over there anymore. I don't want any overextension. So I'm just going to feed the additional 2 provinces to Byzantium here. And now once I let 1 day pass, you're going to notice that there are Ottoman Janissaries now on my own province of Bolu that they are actually sieging right now, okay? So normally, if you don't full annex them, leave them alive in one province, for example, then they will immediately move towards the Ottoman Empire to siege them down, because after all, they are Ottoman Janissaries, not Aragonese, right? But in this case, they can't do that, and therefore they will siege down my province. And let's just see what happens after that is done. And now you're going to notice that even though these are Ottoman Janissaries, if I go to the Rebels tab, you can see that they actually show up on the Aragonese Janissaries, as you can see right here in my Rebel tab. Of course, I would never be able to spawn Janissary rebels myself, and that's why I needed to inherit these rebels from the Ottoman Empire. And the interesting part is that right now these rebels will stay on that province until the end of the game, basically, or until they get killed by any army, because they feel like they are Ottoman Janissaries, so they won't try to break my country or anything. They will just stay in that one province, and I can do with them whatever I want. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to accept their demands. And you can see what that does, right? It will make that my current ruler dies, which obviously means that you can see I'm the emperor right now. I will be re-elected, okay? Now, to make this even more interesting, I'm going to flip to an elective monarchy, because not only does that mean that I get a choice of a new ruler after my ruler dies, but also every time I choose a new ruler, I get an additional re-election from the empire, basically. So what I'm just going to do right now is I'm going to go to the rebels, accept their demands. You're going to see it says plus 20% local autonomy in every owned province, which is actually not true. Let's just have a look at Valencia, for example. 0%. Now let me just accept the demands. There we go. Emperor is dead. First of all, you can see Valencia still at 0%, so it doesn't really matter. Now, one thing you notice is the Janissaries are still there and the province is still occupied, okay? Even though I just accepted their demands. What you'll notice is that even though I don't have an heir right now, as you can see, the votes still didn't change. So it doesn't really matter if I have an heir or not, because I will be voted again once I click one of the new rulers over here. So let me just take the additional 10 Imperial Authority there. So there we go, just gain 10 Imperial Authority. And now comes the other interesting part, of course, choosing one of these rulers gives me bonuses. So for example, choosing a general will give me 10 army tradition. Choosing an admiral will give me 10 navy tradition. And choosing an influential trader will give me money, and that is based on my income, is 0.1 of my yearly income, therefore a little bit more than my monthly income, so 56 ducats in this case. And yeah, let me just choose that real quick. Just like that, I got 56 ducats in my treasury, as well as a new imperial election. There we go. Now what I can do is I can just let 1 day pass. You can see the votes didn't change, as you can see, even though, of course, I don't have an heir or something, right? But what I can do is I can just click on the rebels, click on the Aragonese Janissaries over here, and accept their demands again. Okay, same thing happened. Imperial Authority, new ruler, actually still no heir, which is a little bit unlucky. And I can take another influential trader for another 56 ducats in my treasury, and another imperial re-election triggered. And therefore, within 2 days, I got 40 imperial authority as well as 100 ducats. Okay, 56 ducats per day is basically the income that you can go with that. And on top of that, if the personal unions, for example, would be able to integrate, then you would also get an additional chance of inheriting every single time you re-elect a new ruler. And now I can literally do that same thing over and over and over again until I have enough money in my treasury to do whatever I want, and until I revoke the entire HRE privileges until Erbkaisertum, because after that the re-election event doesn't trigger anymore. So let me just do that real quick, and we are going to see when all of this is done. So I did that for a bit now. You can see I've already, like in 10 days or something, I gained around 500 ducats, maybe more. And yeah, what also happened is I got up to tier 6 reforms, so the first centralization reform. But sadly now the point has come where the electors are no longer backing me up. You can see only Cologne hasn't changed their vote yet. And that means that literally I need to wait for an heir right now, which the chances of that are pretty high actually. I've also did 4 royal marriages just with the biggest HRE nations, because I want to ally them anyways later for the revoke that they join my subject swarm. This means that I also increase the chance of getting an heir by 20%, as you can see, number of royal marriages. So yeah, I'm just going to wait until I get an heir, and then the elector should back me up again, and I can finish it off until Erbkaisertum, which of course means that at that point they have no choice. They will be voting for me no matter what. So at that point, I don't care about having an heir anymore. I can just do that until I have 100,000 ducats in my treasury. So yeah, let me just wait for an heir, and then we'll finish off the proclaimed Erbkaisertum. And after that, we'll get ourselves some money in our bank. Okay, there it is. Don't ask me why it's 2 years later. I had to actually roll for another heir because Mainz apparently chose to not vote for me after 2 days. But anyways, yeah, there it is. I can now pick an influential trader for the last time until I no longer have the problem with the HRE. You can see I increased my income, by the way, so now I'm getting 73 ducats from that decision. There we go, one more election, the Emperor is dead, and I'm going to hold this event now because I can already proclaim Erbkaiser 2, as you can see, which gives an additional 25 Imperial Authority growth modifier, as well as, of course, signs a religious peace treaty, so a Peace of Westphalia, basically. And of course, most importantly, this means that right now there are no more elections. I will be voted to become the emperor. Now, whatever I do, whatever religion I become, whatever ruler I have, if I don't have an heir, if I have an heir, it doesn't matter. Yeah, and you can see this 10 imperial authority is actually 15 authority right now, 15.5. So yeah, you can see it won't be long until I can actually revoke the privilegia. There is no rush in terms of time for that matter, but I will be joining the HRE once I move my capital to somewhere in the lowlands and get imperial authority for that as well. Of course, it is kind of difficult to get the privilegia revoked on, for example, Austria. But you can see even without me being in the same culture group, which gives a negative 15 penalty for that, even without that, you can see with 50 additional imperial authorities, so 50 above the needed 50 that you need minimum, I will be able to get Austria to vote for the revoke of privilegia. So I will be revoking before 1500, probably 1495 or something, and will gain the entirety of the HRE as vassals. After that, of course, I can diplomatically vassalize nations such as Livonian Order and such, and after that start adding nations into the empire. For example, Hungary by pushing Pest into the empire, France by pushing Paris into the empire, England by pushing London into the empire, and then actually Poland, Lithuania, and Muscovy separately because they haven't formed the personal union. So yeah, that would be my plan for now, but I don't want to show off the revoke trick, let alone. But what I want to show off is how much money you can get with that. And that's the reason why right now what I'm going to do for the next days is really I'm just going to accept the demands over and over again, because at that point, of course, I have to wait 1 day. Let me just do that like that. Of course, at that point, you can see I get a new ruler. I keep being the emperor. Of course, I'm not getting the event anymore. But every time I do that, I gain 73 ducats. 73 ducats per day. That means that at the current rate, I'm going to get more than 2,000 ducats per month. Basically, a monthly income of 2,100 ducats that I'm having with this strategy right here. And that means a yearly income of 26,000 ducats. So I'm probably going to do that until like 1490, and then I have enough money to upgrade all the relevant monuments. Of course, this is what I mean when I say infinite money, because you can literally do that infinitely. The only downside that you have is that while you do that, you are at -3 stability and -100 prestige. But of course, I can, whenever I want, get rid of the Patronate of the Arts and put that in again. Let's just show you 30 prestige immediately, as well as use 60 admin mana, so 180 admin mana to get to 0 stability again. So the price is definitely worth it. And as I said, you can also do that to get 100 army tradition and 100 navy tradition. And of course, in the end, you can finish it off by getting a crazy strong ruler, so a 666 ruler potentially, which you can just simply choose whenever you want to end this up. You have enough money, then you just do it 1 or 2 times and choose like the best ruler that you can get, basically. And yeah, in my opinion, this is a totally broken strategy. The most broken part about that is actually that what you can do is you can actually get rid of these rebels, because at some point, because you can see that there are rebels that are progressing, and these are actually not Ottoman Janissaries, these are Aragonese Janissaries. So this thing over here, let me just wait one day. You can see this one over here, this rebel progress of Aragonese Janissaries, it will gain rebel progress per month, as is told in the tooltip right here. So once you are done, you can just leave them alive for like a half a year or something, and then these Aragonese Janissaries will be above 30% progress, and therefore, even once you occupy and kill off these rebels, the rebels will stay alive because they have more than 30%, and therefore the rebel type won't change anymore. So you can basically that way get rid of the rebels and then have the rebels available to provoke them whenever you want. Of course, at that point, what you need to do is those are your rebels then, so you can only do that once, but very interestingly, with that technique, you can kill your ruler whenever you want as well. What do you think about this strategy? I think it's a pretty overpowered strategy in my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you would do with this strategy, and we're going to see, as always, on another Monday.